Michelle. She's a pretty mighty woman.
She's a very hardworking lady. She does many things.
Michelle is a how do I put this? Can I curse? Sure. Okay. She's a badass motherfucker. Michelle doesn't mess around. Michelle has worked an insane job as a nurse for over 20 years and decides she wants to make a movie, and then she doesn't stop there.
It was an accident. It was never my goal, my ambition, or my dream to be involved with, or write a film. I was the kid that went to school, came home, stayed in your room all day, read books, no socialization, very little. And all of a sudden I announced I was auditioning for Grease, and from that day forward my whole life changed. I directed my first show when I was 18, loved directing. I found very quickly, it's like I like this a lot. So I got to do all of that for about 6 years in Los Angeles, Hollywood, and then I had my first daughter. And it just kind of felt right that I just walked away from all of it, came home, and 4 years later I was a registered nurse.
Men during disasters.
I literally put him outside. I was like, just stay out there for 10 minutes. 10 minutes and I'll call the ambulance and tell them that she died. You just suggested
These are the people I work with. I love them all.
My daughter, by then, whom I'd had, one night I was working at the hospital and she found my memory box in the storage shed. All it said on the side of the box was Theater Mom, and she got curious what that meant, so she opened it up and started digging through there, and she found photos and programs and posters. And so the next day she showed me the box and she said, "What is all this?" And so I explained, "Oh, I used to do theater too, it was a long time ago though." And so she asked, as a 9-year-old, "Have you ever directed?" And I said, "Yeah, I've directed." And she said, "Can you do a play I can be in?" And at the time I told her, "Oh, there's so much involved that so many people don't even realize to putting a show together." And I said, "So I don't think so." But that night I had this dream that literally told me, "Do this and it will happen." And so, I woke up thinking, okay, maybe I could do it once. So I actually approached my daughter's school, where she went to elementary school, and I said, so I'd like to do a play. I found a nearby theater that let us have a space for a week. So we went in and had lights and sound, and I did everything I could to just kind of real small and simple. But the school district had allowed me to use this little theater building. And they said, "Would you do that again, but come and do it for the entire school district?" And so the next year we did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and 52 kids showed up. And then we did Peter Pan, and I had 72 kids. And so it kind of just kept going. And pretty soon we went from doing 1 show a year to 2 shows a year, and occasionally 3 shows a year. But once I was back, I was hooked. It's like, it never leaves you once you've done it. So I wound up making lunch. I didn't get to see what you guys actually ordered. So what I made the enchilada orzo. Is there anybody who didn't want that? About 2 years before I started writing the screenplay, there was a character on television that it was one of the first gay characters that I really just kind of connected with and really started to open my eyes to the LGBT community. It was introduced in a way that it made you understand his father didn't approve. Unfortunately, what happened as this character evolved is the writing devolved, and they kind of backed off of that storyline. And I remembered kind of feeling like, that's too bad. It's a story that needs to be told. And I said, okay, I'm going to summarize his story, and my challenge to myself was do it in 3 or less sentences. And so what I wrote became what is now the opening sentence of the film, which is, "My father only wanted 2 things, straight A's and a straight son." So that's what I wrote about this character. And so I typed it into a Word document, put it away. 2 years later, I was sitting in a shop in Portland, Oregon, and there was a name on a door in front of me at the waiting area, and it said Justin Johnson. And I remembered immediately thinking, God, that name belongs in a movie. But that was literally all I thought in that second. So I left the shop, and on my 20-minute drive home, that sentence that I had written and forgotten about 2 years earlier came back to me, but instead of stopping at the end of that sentence, all of a sudden it evolved to the next sentence and then the next sentence. And by the time I was home, I had written in my head what is essentially right now the opening voiceover. And I knew instantly I was writing a movie, and I did not know why. You know, and so it took me about a year to write it, and it just became kind of this project that was just fun. And I was telling this story that I felt like needed to be told. I didn't know how, I didn't know where, but so I just finished writing it. And when it was done, I was like, I'd like to hear it out loud, you know, and because I ran a theater, what better people to get together and read a script, right?
Justin, you completely boarded the Michael train before you arrived on campus.
Justin completely boarded the Michael train before you even came to campus.
You slowed that way down.
Justin boarded the Michael train before you even came to campus.
Boarded? Oh, speaking of Justin.
Cards in.
So we announced an open audition, and 12 men showed up. And I had little 3x5 cards in front of me with their names on them. And a couple of men got up and auditioned, and then Jonathan got up. And Jonathan was there to audition for Michael. And a few sentences into it, I just closed my eyes and listened to him talk, because there was just something there. And when I opened my eyes, I wrote on his card, "He's Justin." And I slid it to my daughter, and she read it, and she was like, yeah, I could see it. And then Bjorn got up, and he read for Michael. And as soon as he started, my daughter wrote on his card, "You just found Michael." And we put the two of them together, and they read the first hospital scene where Justin and Michael first meet, when Justin falls out of the tree. And as soon as they read, the chemistry was instantaneous. There was just something there, and we were like, yeah, that's them.
So I need to let you say your line here.
Yeah.
Here.
We should start there.
Okay.
All right, quiet on set.
Maybe I should make this film. Maybe I could find a little crew and do a little simple thing. And, you know, I mean, I was just thinking very small, very local, and my daughter was in college at that point. She made a post and she said, "We have an LGBT romantic comedy, we're looking for a crew." And Darren Hartman, who has been my director of photography from the beginning, he reached out to me on September 1st of 2015. He said, "I'd love to read your script." So I sent him my script. He wrote me back 2 hours later and said, "I just read your script, it's great. We can make this happen. I think it's a great story."
I thought this earlier, if we had a pillow and we had him laying here, and then I could do the reverse of the motion that gets him there, follow him up, have him come to here, and then just go to what just happened.
Well, it just got creepy. Okay. Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. He assembled this like mighty group of people who he went to film school with, and these 5 men did the jobs of 25 people. Before I knew it, I was making a film. So, 42 actors, 150 extras, 14 locations. Yeah, it was just quite the unexpected but amazing journey that I got thrust into. So you're there.
Andy, what are you doing here?
Need an invitation to see my girl.
Now that's when you can approach. So because you don't know that Mandy's here, right? And actually that works. So it's like so you step up to her. "I need an invitation to see my girl," and you're here, which actually is going to put you in Mandy's sightline.
Oh.
The film
okay,
got denied at multiple festivals, and the feedback that I kept getting was mostly, that it didn't have that drama, that nobody died, it wasn't socio-political enough, it was just a romantic comedy. It was, and so the very story I wanted to tell was being denied because that's not what they felt like that community needed. And so, I think I kind of took that, and I was a little deflated after a year of trying to do that. So then I just kind of went back to my life and went back, nursing and doing that in the theater. And ironically, in January of last year, 2020, before COVID hit, I had a patient who, in the morning, I walked into her room and introduced myself to her, and she was having the same surgery that day that I had when I was 12. And then she was admitted for a week after she had the surgery. So her and I saw each other every day that week. And And so then we started, of course, talking about other things and what we do outside of work, and I brought up the film. And she said, can I see it? And I said, well, not right now. It's not really out there. And I said, but I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get it on YouTube. It's just time. About 2 weeks later, Darren got it onto YouTube for me. And I remember hitting like the, I don't know, upload or send or whatever the button was. And I remember in my mind feeling like, this is me letting it go. You know, and it's just like, you just gotta let it go. And you know, maybe somebody will see it, maybe somebody will enjoy it. But she's gonna see it, and that was the goal. And I remember the end of the first day, it already had like 10,000 views or something, and I was just like, okay, that's cool. And then the numbers just kept going up, and they kept going up quickly, and I was starting to get all these messages on YouTube and comments, and all, you know, it just kept escalating so fast, and it just felt like it just was like bam. And then she did see it, you know, and she reached out to me after she saw it. But by then, it just kind of became this rocket that was completely unexpected, and people were reaching out to all of us with just these, some of them heart-wrenching stories. And even just last week, I got an email last week from somebody who said, this is my best friend's story. But then I got this other message: thank you for sharing a love story where two people were committed to each other and there for each other and still together in the end and found they're happy.
Ding dong.
What? No, I didn't. You did it. No. He. What?
And then I was starting to get the requests. Can you make a sequel? Make a sequel. And I was like, oh, sequels are bad. You know, it's like, I don't know that we can ever live up to the expectation of that. But again, similar to my children's theater, you just kind of have those dreams. And I'm a very vivid dreamer, I always have been. And I started kind of thinking, but what if we did this? What if instead of a film with a beginning, middle, and end, we kind of create something more along the line of a short film series? I funded the feature film. I funded like 90% of it. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. I took a loan out from my retirement plan to pay for the feature film. You know, and I just paid that off. I would do that again, but I can't do it again now. You know, it's like I actually do need to retire, you know, at some point. So many fans like joined Patreon, and some started donating by PayPal. We started getting checks in the mail, you know, and I was just like, oh wow, they're really gonna make this happen. When you realize that you've done something, you make me cry. You know, that I don't think sometimes we do things recognizing the impact that it could have. I think at the time, again, I was writing a romantic comedy, and from my very naive perspective, I didn't realize what I was writing was impactful. You know what I mean? To me, I just wanted to write a love story.